What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to break down some big news that came out over the weekend, how it relates to Tesla and Elon Musk, what's happening with current news about Tesla, and what you should be watching for the share prices of all these different companies. But before I break down this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total. And the offer ends in just about 2 weeks. Anyways, for Tesla, I just wanted to mention that because we got this nice little counter trend rally that was kind of continuing for the last couple of days, especially after that bearish news that came out about the robotaxi event. However, Tesla kind of pumped today, especially with the overall markets. The market got a nice pump as we opened after the big news that came out over the weekend. And then we saw this nice dump when Jerome Powell started his speech. So the market started to dip a bit. Tesla was showing some weakness, and we do have a gap to fill. So I will break down more details about these charts in just a couple of minutes. But I want to talk about some big news. So many of you guys probably saw my previous videos where I broke down this news in some detail and kind of talked about it. So I'm going to be very brief in this video when I talk about it. I just want to bring this up again because I know a lot of people may have not seen my morning videos, and my afternoon videos tend to get the most views. So I just want to talk about this and kind of account for this. I was very busy during the weekend because of a wedding, so I didn't actually get a chance to talk about this on Sunday. I actually pre-recorded the video on Sunday instead, and that's the reason why I didn't mention this news. But I just want to say that this was very significant, very, very huge. Now, just remember, guys, I try my best to be as unbiased as possible, despite being a human that has his own biases. Let me just make it very clear that I want the best for both sides of the political aisle. And I just want to say that violence is never the answer. It's absolutely horrendous to hear about news like this. I'm very, very grateful that former President Trump has survived it. I'm trying to be unbiased in saying so. I wish him good health and all the best in his campaign run. I also wish the best for President Joe Biden because it benefits the US for him to be doing well, to, say things correctly and etc. So I just want all the best for everyone. At the end of the day, we're all Americans. We're all like, it's almost as if the US is a giant family, believe it or not. I know there's a lot of division in our country, there's a lot of fights, but at the end of the day, we're all Americans, we're all brothers and sisters. And when worst comes to show, we tend to put our biases aside and we try to help each other out. So I just want to make it very clear that, this is some big news that happened. This should never happen. There should never be any violence because of, political driven motives and such. And I condemn it. I condemn any form of violence in politics or anything that has to do with this. And that's absolutely horrendous. But I am grateful that former President Trump has, he's still doing well. And I just wish the best for all sides and etc. Now, the reason I'm calling this news out is because this is very relevant for Tesla. Elon Musk was talking about this as well. And with this news, by the way, the market actually pumped a bit. We actually saw a little bullish reaction in the morning for the first 2 hours of the day. Same thing with SPY. We actually rallied to new all-time highs. We saw this nice little push to start us off, only to start selling off when Jerome Powell started his speech. But anyways, with this news that was happening, this was actually very important because Elon Musk came out and he said that he fully endorses President Trump and he hopes for a rapid recovery. Now, this is very important. You guys have to remember the significance of his words. Elon Musk he has close to almost 200 million followers on Twitter. That's actually insane. He's very, very popular. He gets a lot of views. And when he says things like this leads to not only controversy, but different people have different beliefs. Now, I personally respect Elon Musk and his beliefs. He has every right to say what he wants to say, and that's absolutely incredible. I respect his freedom of speech. But just know that when he says things like this, it could lead to lots of complications. So Musk revealed that he actually had something very similar that happened to former President Trump, which happened to him. He mentioned that this happened 2 times to him very recently over the last few months. That's actually some very scary news. Okay, so I just want to make it clear that Tesla is a very important company and they need to protect their gigafactories and their employees. But simultaneously, Tesla also needs to protect Elon Musk. Musk needs to be protected as well. He needs to use part of his wealth to invest in security. In my personal opinion, because he's very important. He's not only just a human being, but he has a great mind. He's important for these different companies. He has a lot of wealth, which could be used in different ways, and he's very, very important for Tesla and etc. But most of all, he's also a father. He has, children, and there's a bunch of different other things I could say about him. But I just want to say that Musk needs a lot of protection through this, and this is why many Tesla shareholders are coming out, and they want the board to approve an increase of Elon Musk's security budget. That's huge news, especially after the two potential tragedies that could have happened to him. And this happened over the last couple of months. This is very, very recent news. So when Musk is on Twitter, okay, he wants to say whatever he wants to say. And that's All right, I respect that. But the issue that leads to is the fact that there's a lot of division. Many people look down at Elon Musk. He gets a lot of criticism from the media, and this also leads to a lot of people learning about him, the wrong people as well, and that could lead to some danger. So that's the reason why I think it's very important for Tesla to invest more in security for their employees and also Elon Musk. He's very important. He's a father, and also because of his great mind, which has been used to form teams to help build these great companies and to do so many other great things. That's something that's making a lot of headlines. I think it's very important. Some more news came out that Tesla once again has its price target actually increases by Global Equities Research. We're seeing a price target of about $400 a share, which is very, very bullish. As part of why Tesla was also bullish. Why we got a nice move in the morning. That was that, and also the news involving former President Trump. Those combined helped Tesla pump, only for it to slow down. Even Jim Cramer saying that Tesla is headed back to about a $1 trillion market cap. Has a lot of momentum in his opinion. Say what you want about Jim Cramer, but that's what he thinks as well. I think we will eventually get there, but the question is, will we get a dip first, or will Tesla just continue from here? We'll talk about that later on. That's going to be over a $320 price target, by the way. Just wanted to call that out. Anyways, that's it for like the main pieces of news about Tesla. Everything else is not as significant as that. I also wanted to mention Jerome Powell. Powell gave a speech today, and he actually said some very important things. He mentioned that the Fed is going to cut rates before we end up seeing a 2% inflation rate because of the lag that the Fed's monetary policy has on the economy. So many studies have found that when the Fed raises interest rates or does anything like that, it has a lag effect. So it may take like 12 to 18 months to really affect the economy. That's why it's taking a while for us to really see this contraction that we're waiting for. He did mention that the labor market is showing weakness. He can't confirm when they're going to cut rates, but he is implying it's going to happen a little bit sooner than some people may think, because they're not going to wait for inflation to go down to 2% to do so. They're going to have to do it like beforehand, because there's going to be a lag effect. And they don't want to hold rates for way too long, for way too high. So could it happen in September? Maybe it's not going to happen until the end of the year. Yes, but it's going to happen before we get 2% inflation. That's what Jerome Powell implied. For tomorrow, there's not really much data coming out. Everything else is very, very minor. We have import and export prices before the market opens. It's very minor. Then just a bunch of bill auctions. We do have Kugler giving a speech, however, at 2:45 p.m. Besides that, everything else to me just seems kind of minor. That's what I'm seeing for Tuesday. As far as earnings go, just to be quick, Goldman Sachs did very well for earnings, beating on EPS and revenue, and net income was good. First Bank just had earnings. Pretty good stuff overall. We saw a decent EPS and good growth overall. Net income was up for $40 million, and then their total deposits, however, decreased to about 10.47 billion, which is not the best of news for them. So kind of mixed earnings, but more good than bad in my personal opinion. Two more things about the market before I talk about Tesla solely. Just to know that the fear and greed index is a little bit more greedy than in neutral. Momentum is still very greedy as the buyers are still stepping in, and we're still seeing a lot of defense by the bulls. That's the reason why the 5-day average put to call ratio is also down a bit, because we're starting to see more and more of these puts continuing to be closed and more calls are dominating. The VIX is trying to break up, but we haven't broken some key resistance yet, so I'll be talking about that a little bit later. Tesla had 150 million in volume, well above average to pump and dump, so not bad whatsoever. Short volume is also kind of high right now at the 66%, so not bad, at least for Tesla. Citigroup gave Tesla a neutral rating despite UBS's sell rating last week. And then when it comes to other pieces of seasonality, Tuesdays tend to be green about 52% of the time. We also tend to see more volatility around different periods. You guys can see around like 11 o'clock a.m. and also during the second to last hour of the day, we tend to see more uh, volatility. And that's pretty much it, at least for the time being. So, with that being said, guys, let's talk about some very, very important stuff for Tesla and the markets. I know you guys were waiting for this part. So, what do I see for Tesla? Honestly, guys, I do have some concerns about the share price, because what could be happening is we had this high right here at this 270 area. We came down and now we're trying to push again, but it's kind of struggling to break out even higher. So there's a possibility we're about to see a rejection, establish a lower high, and start dipping a little bit. That is a strong possibility. But in order for this to happen, we have to watch for some key confirmation levels. I want to call those out. So if Tesla were to turn bullish, you want to see this break past 260. If we break 260 and close above that, we could be looking for a rally back up to at least 265. That's going to be a key resistance. However, we have this big gap to fill below. So if Tesla loses its 50 EMA in this 253 area, I think we're easily coming down to fill this gap towards 248, the 248 area. And then we'll have to see if we get a bounce after hitting the gap support. So what's looking more favorable, in my opinion? Here's a very, very simple way of looking at this. Just check this out, guys. Tesla loves to pump and dump. And let me give you some proof of my claim. So let's go back to Monday from last week. What happened on Monday? Tesla pumped and dumped. Look at Tuesday, we pumped and then consolidated with a little bit of a dip On Wednesday, we pumped and dumped. On Thursday, we pumped, gapped up, and then we dumped really hard after some bad news came out. That was because of the robotaxi news. For that was for Thursday, by the way. For Friday, we pumped all the way up towards about 251, and we closed around 247. So we saw a little dip, and then today we gapped up, we pumped, and then dumped, but we haven't fully filled this gap. So to me, we love to pump in the mornings, then we love to dump or slow down as the day goes on, as volume slows down. That's been the trend for the past week for the large majority of days. Tesla's also very news dependent, so be very careful what news comes out. But the most likely possibility is Tesla gets a little rebound. We'll see if we could try to retest 255. We could go a little higher if we break that. Maybe we retest 257 where this imbalances. And then if we establish a lower high, I'd be looking for a move back down to fill this gap over the next few days. So I think that Tesla may pump and dump tomorrow, and we may eventually fill this gap. The news could be another factor that affects this, but so far that's looking as the most likely possibility. The 4 hour is also looking a little bit weaker on Tesla when you look at this big red bar, especially as we have bearish momentum building. So this is favoring a move back down to fill that gap for a little pop and drop. So I find that's to be the most likely possibility. For SPY, now SPY is different from Tesla. It's actually very indecisive right now. When you look at, I'm going to pull up the 30 minutes time frame on SPY. I love to use this time frame, by the way. What you'll see is that SPY is indecisive. It loves to just go up and down and up and down. Let me prove that to you. Look what happened on Wednesday. We pumped, then we pumped and dumped, pumped and dumped, pumped and dumped, pumped and dumped. It's the pump and dump market, guys. It loves to just go up and then down. So we also have a bullish wedge-like structure that is developing right here. But in order for this to play out, we have to break past 565. If we break 565, we're going all the way up towards 568 plus. If we lose 560, we're going to be dipping all the way down to 558. That's our 200 EMA, or even lower than that, towards 555. So watch 560 is key supports. If we lose that, we're bearish. Watch 565 is resistance. If we break that, we're bullish. What do I think is going to happen? Well, look at the last few days. We pumped and then dumped, pumped and then dumped, pumped and then dumped today. Tomorrow, I think we're going to likely kind of like gap up and pump and try to retest 564 to 565, then maybe dump back down for another pump and dump like move. And then we'll be watching this blue trend line right here to see if we hold this support. But look for a pump back up to this resistance zone around 564 to 565, then a rejection back down to the trend line. And we'll see if this breaks or not, but I find that's to be the most likely possibility. ES is doing the same thing. This is actually what's leading SPY. Look at the last few days. It pumped and dumped, pumped and dumped, pumped and dumped. Look for a little pump tomorrow to fill some of these imbalances towards the 5,700 area. Might go a little bit higher. Then we could be making a move back down to our 50 EMA to dump back down to 56.85. So I see a pump and dump as the most likely possibility for ES as we're still range bound. And we have to break some key levels to see what the much bigger move is going to be. Remember what I said about SPY, break 565 and we're bullish and lose 560, we're bearish. It hasn't done that yet, so we're still range bound. So a pump and dump is looking more probable. For Bitcoin, we're on a very, very nice breakout right now towards 65,000. If that breaks, I'm going to be looking for 66,000. Now, the last time we hit that 66,000 area, we did reject. So I think we could push a little bit higher to get very close to 66,000. We'll see if we get a rejection of that. But look for a little bit more upside and see what kind of reaction we get. And we'll be very patient nonetheless. For a few more factors out there, I just want to make it very clear to be very, very patient. For the QQQ, same thing as SPY, okay? This pumped right here on Thursday, then dumped. Friday, it pumped and dumped. Today, it pumped and dumped. So look for a pump and dump like move most likely tomorrow. Let me make it very clear that if we were to break past 500, we're going to turn bullish. We're going to be looking for a breakouts to 502 plus. If we lose our 200 EMA around 495, there's going to be a rug pull back down to 492 to turn bearish. My guts tells me we might try pushing a little bit higher to get closer to 500. Then we'll reject and come right back down to our 200 EMA around 495. Notice how it's also kind of like establishing a lower high. So we had this high right here. We came down and we're making like a lower high in this range. So look for a little bit of a push higher, close to 500, maybe a little bit below that, and then a move back down towards this resistance. I think that that's going to be our Fibonacci retracement area as well. So very close to 500, a little pump, and then a dump back down to 495 is what I'm expecting is the most likely possibility. Apple's no different. Check this out on Aapl. Look at how it moved the last couple of days. If we go to Thursday, we pumped a little bit, gapped up, and then we dumped. Friday, we pumped and dumped. Today, it pumped all the way up to 237, then dumped. So look for a push to 237 to 238 tomorrow. I might push a little bit higher, then dump back down towards our 50 EMA around 230. Well, 234.85 is coming, then 233. Pump and dump is what I'm expecting as the most likely possibility. So keep that in the back of your mind. That is just another cyclical pattern. With that being said, guys, I'm kind of running late in this video, so I'm going to be kind of quick with the rest of it. I'm going to be very fast with this, the ending of this analysis. So we're going to go over Palantir. We could push a little bit higher on Palantir. Make sure you watch 29 as resistance, and we have key support currently around 28.5. I think we're going to push towards 29, and then we're going to reject and just consolidate for a bit as the most likely possibility. Not really expecting too much. Supermicro is holding above its key moving averages, so look for a little rebound towards 920 tomorrow. And then we're going to see if we can try to close above that or not. We had a weak close today, so it kind of pumped and dumped. So look for another pump and then a dump back down. So I favor that as well for Supermicro. I think we're going to be retesting 920, then making a move back down as the most likely possibility. Rivian on the 4-hour time frame is looking a little bit more bearish to me. I think it's going to be testing its 20 EMA. So it could grab liquidity close to 18, then dump back down to 16.9. I favor that as a little bit of a dip that could be coming, and then maybe we bounce after that. But look for a dip all the way down to 16.9, then we'll see what kind of move we make. SoFi is breaking out to the upside right now, forming a nice double bottom like structure. Going to be looking for a push all the way up towards 7.68. And if that breaks, we're going all the way up towards resistance. So I think that there's going to be a nice push higher. It looks more bullish. This depends on the bank earnings, of course, but so far the chart is favoring upside. So look for a push for 7.68 and 7.8. The IWM Russell 2000 looks just like SoFi, looking more bullish. If we continue to break it, I'll be looking for a push for the 220 area. That's looking more bullish to me, and I favor upside even more. AMD, it's barely holding up right now. Watch this 179 area as support. If we lose this, we're going down to 177. If that fails us, we're going down to 173.6. My gut tells me we may rebound a bit and start dipping lower, all the way down towards 176. And if that fails us, 177 and then 173 could be coming. It depends if we could hold 179 or not, but I favor it kind of dipping a little bit to at least 177. For ARM, we're looking kind of indecisive. It looks like it's going to be retesting 179. If we break through that, we're going up to about 170, 181.5. If you reject off 179, we're going to be dipping back down to 173. So look for a little bit of upside tomorrow towards 179, see if we get a rejection or not. That's going to be pivotal for the way we end up moving. Coinbase looks bullish. We actually broke through this trend line. So this was actually previous resistance, and now we're actually above it. So I think that 250 is coming. Look for a push for 250 and see if we get a rejection or not. If it breaks that, 255 is next. If you reject off 250, I think we're going to be retesting this trend line. So look for a little bit more upside and see what the move happens to be once we get to resistance. Amazon's looking a little bit more bearish, but what's good about it is we're trying to rebound a bit. So I think we might rebound towards 195 tomorrow. Then we might see some consolidation again, because that's all I'm kind of like seeing. For Meta, we're kind of rejecting a little bit. Look for a test of 497. If you reject, we're going to be dipping back down to about 492, then 485. But if you break past this resistance at 497, we'll be looking for basically 500. So watch this resistance and see what kind of move we make. For Microsoft, we're kind of consolidating right now. Look for a test of 456 and see if we kind of reject or not. We might just consolidate. But I do think we're going to go a little bit higher for 456, and we'll see how this goes. For Google, we might try to rebound a little bit. I think we could be testing the previous support, which is now resistance at 190. So we'll see if we hit 190 and reject. I think Google's going to push a little higher for 190, and we'll see what kind of reaction we get. For GameStop, we're looking a little bit more bullish off this double bottom like structure. So look for 27.5 to be tested at this imbalance. It looks a little bit more bullish to me. For AMC, as long as we hold above 5.27, we're going to be pushing higher towards 5.6. Chart looks a little bit more bullish to me. For DJT, for those who are interested, it's going to likely dip a little bit. It got a nice pump and dump. Look for this gap to fill all the way down here towards 31. Wasn't really enough buyers to defend it at the levels it was at, so I think it might dip towards 31. We do have the convention coming up, so we'll see if it kind of retests 37.68 and then rejects to 31. But I do see that gap to get filled very soon. The VIX is trying to break out, but we're testing resistance very close. It's almost exactly at our 200 EMA. If that breaks, we're going to turn more bullish. That would be bearish for the markets. If not, it's going to reject. So we will see how it goes. Wait for confirmation for the next couple of days, but it's showing some life. 10 years also showing a little bit of life, but not really much. It's still kind of indecisive, so I'm going to give this a little bit more time. It wasn't really that affected by Powell's words today. The dollar is trying to break out towards 104.3. If that breaks, we're going to be looking for a bounce on it. This suggests that there could be downside for the markets if this gets a big bounce and break of above 104.37. So just be careful. We're at key support in the dollar, and we'll see if this leads to a rejection in the markets or not. So be very, very patient. Once again, guys, Tesla has a tendency of kind of pumping and dumping. Tomorrow, I wouldn't be surprised if we pump a little bit in the morning, but then watch that gap below. If we end up losing some key support around 253, we could easily start dipping to 248 to fill that gap. With that being said, I just want to say I really appreciate you guys so much for listening. Please have an absolutely incredible rest of the day. And just remember, guys, I try my best to not really get too political with anything. I just think that I will only talk about politics if I'm in a situation where I have to. In this case, I really had to talk about it. So I just wish the best for everyone. I try my best to be unbiased. So thank you all so much for listening. I'll see you guys tomorrow before the market opens. So have a great day and peace out.